Welcome to She Loves the Grid, where we discuss all things F1. Whether it's happening on the track, in the paddock, or beyond the grid, we'll talk about it all.
And we're back after what has to be, let's just get to the pleasantries. Welcome back to She Loves the Grid. I'm Claire.
I'm Diane.
And we're recording again in Berlin together.
Yay!
You didn't watch last week, or he listened last week. Berlin. Yeah, Diane now lives in Berlin.
Yes, and it's also nice that we can do these on Mondays instead of rushing to do right after the race, because as we know,
time zone differences.
Time zone differences, and a lot of stuff happens a lot of times after the race.
So, and after this race, which is just full of controversy and craziness, and I'm trying to use my words nicely because we try to publish one that is not filled with obscenities.
It was, I mean, we sat here and kept just saying, like, this is an S race.
This is a race. It was crazy. I mean, the sprint was not bad.
It wasn't bad. It was a little boring, but we went to dinner that night. We were all talking about it, and your partner said, well, there was good battles, and there was there was great battles with Oscar and Charles, I think it was.
I forget. I can't forget. Yeah, Sunday.
Lewis had, I think, some great things going on.
Checo was.
Checo, that was not his day. He couldn't even start.
But then Sunday came, and the drama started before Sunday.
Yeah,
I mean,
it truly did. Yeah. So I mean, let's just get the sprint out of the way, because there wasn't a whole lot. There was some good battles, but the main thing was Lando was leading. He was helping Oscar keep George at bay, so keeping Oscar within that DRS. And right at the very end, I wondered what he was doing. I'm like, why is he moving off the line? And he goes over, and I was like, and there goes Oscar, thank goodness. Lando said that he knew since Brazil, when Oscar helped him, he was going to do that. Yeah. So he had it planned. His engineer said, no, absolutely not. George was too close, and they didn't want anything to mess up. They needed those points for the constructor. And they said, no, we're happy. This is how we will finish. So Lando first, and he did it anyways. Which
was really cool. That was so
nice.
Cool. That was a neat experience and whatnot. And then the controversy started.
Yeah.
It just. So do we get into the controversy?
Well, I think we have to get into that controversy, because then later in the day on Saturday, we obviously had qualifying for the race.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was interesting. I mean, it was tight. Like, the times all across the board are very tight. Yuki jumped out, jumped into the Q2. You had both Saubers, right?
Yeah.
In Q2. If I remember correctly, it's hard to remember, like, between the sprint, but Max got pole, and that was his first pole in a while, and everybody was excited. And late at night, I was already asleep.
Yeah. I've just got this pop-up that he got a one-place grid penalty, which
what?
I mean, I'm not that far into F1, but I've never heard of a one-place grid penalty. It's usually 3 or 5 or 10.
Yeah.
But a one-place grid penalty.
Yeah.
Because impeding George.
Right. So neither one of them were on a fast lap. They were both on build laps. Max felt that he had moved over, and we don't ever see that happening on a build lap. On a fast lap, yes. And then it would be a 3-place grid penalty. But that wasn't it. So there has been, since then, I guess even before the race yesterday, Max is pissed. Like, Max has lost all respect for George. Whatever respect he had for George, he's lost it. Because apparently, from Max's perspective, George afterwards went to the stewards or had it noted that Max impeded him, and I guess in front of the cameras, George was kind of like, it's no big deal, it's fine, da-da-da. But when they were called into the steward's office later that evening, I don't even know how late, he went to town apparently on Max. And Max has said, I've been in there before. I've had to deal with stuff before, but he, meaning George, was intent that Max was going to get a penalty for that. And he said he basically called him two-faced. Like, if you say one thing in front of the cameras and then go in and you are hell-bent on ensuring that I get a penalty, I have no respect for you anymore. And thus we had a 1 grid penalty, which I get Max being mad there. What? Like, we don't penalize for that.
No,
So now we've made up a new thing.
Now, listening to all that, like, I don't know if the rules are on that. So if, to me, there'd have to be a rule for them to do that, you would think. But at the same time, the two-faced thing, I can see with a lot of scrutiny with FIA these days about how they're in the media. Maybe George didn't want to come across as being a whiner in front of the media. A lot of the fans are the whiners and whatnot. Like, what you say in the media, they want to be more, team and more positive and less whiny and
Right.
try not to cuss, and complaining about the other drivers, and then keep that business private and whatnot. I could see that.
Which I totally agree with. Plus, George may have needed to talk with his team, Mercedes,
Right.
before saying, "Oh, okay, we're definitely doing it."
Because it was hours later. It was 11:30 at night our time, so it was like 1:30 in the morning for Qatar when that announcement came out, or when I saw the alert come up from the F1 app. So, I mean, there's time, like you said, they have time. They probably had to assess it, whatnot. But when we look at the starting line and the way this first turn is on that track, honestly, I think P2 is an advantage on that track.
Yeah.
So it helped Max. It honestly didn't hurt him. He got off and got ahead, and the way that turn is, he actually is. I think P2 is an advantage. George would have been better to keep his mouth shut, because I think he would have had advantage. But yeah, it's not like the first. All the drivers do it, and what we're going to talk about later. Like, all the drivers complain. Like, this person, they tattle. They tattle all the time. They talk about it all the time. And added to it, Max has gotten away with a lot this year, a lot. And I can almost feel the frustration of, I mean, come on, like, he continues to get away with crap, like, on and on. I don't know if that was it. That just came to me while you were talking, but yeah, I don't know. Like, the two-faced thing, I don't quite get, though Max is the type that he will say his feelings bluntly all the time on the radio to the press. He doesn't, he's just out there no matter what. Where some people are like, well, in the press, they have decorum in one standing, but then they keep the BS in private. So
and we also don't know what happened behind closed doors, because that's
his
where it
perception
sounds, and his perception, and that's where it sounds like Max had just had it. Like, I think one thing, and a lot of drivers kind of said this going into this weekend, is like, they're tired, they're done.
There's that too.
This is a very long season, and we're coming up on the holidays, and it's a triple header from Vegas to Qatar, from Qatar to Abu Dhabi.
And the travel.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, the travel and everything. And I think, we don't know what was, how George acted in there, or even how Max acted in there, but something in there, and that was it. Like, Max was on a mission. And I think the poll did mean something to him. Christian had said that afterwards. And so I think to have it taken away again, to me, it just seems like a ticky tack. Like you said, there should be a rule. Now we have a precedent. So is this going to be an issue going forward? We're going to have these and so when does impeding happen? On a build-up lap, on a slow lap, it happens all the time, especially, during qualifying. So now we've got that to deal with. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and
interesting.
And I don't know if Max is coming off of his high too, of getting his 4-time champion. When we get to the liveries or the helmets and stuff, like, I don't know if he's coming off of that and then getting that pole, because they're hating, like, you're this champion, and everyone's talking, he's so masterful, but he hasn't had a pole in a while. He hasn't had a win in a while. And maybe he needed that to add to his stuff. I don't know.
I don't know if it's like he needs it. I do think he's a big competitor. And so I think if he's out there, like, then he wants to win. But I also think this is the way Max strikes me, is things being just and things being
Yeah, that makes sense.
fair or equal are important to him. And I think especially in the sport, because he has said things in the past, about the sport, and it should be about racing and different things. And I don't know. I just kind of feel like he did not feel that was just. Whether maybe it was him or somebody else. Like,
Yeah.
where did this one grid penalty come from? Like, what? So, yeah, I don't know. That's just how he strikes me. But I still, yeah, ridiculous. Anyways, okay, rest of the race. Penalties galore.
And
It didn't
odd
even
ones.
just start with that one.
And odd ones, and ones we've not seen, and harsh ones. I mean, harsh. I mean, ones just you would not imagine, and the ones that didn't happen that you would expect.
Right.
You know, this.
Yeah.
Well, you just start the first lap, and of course, they always say racing incidents on the first lap.
Turn one, yeah.
But that turn one, and we just immediately had 2 people out.
Yeah.
Right.
But the person who caused it, Hulkenberg, was in.
Got to finish.
He got to finish the race. But poor Franco, like, and I think even on F1 TV, the commentators were like, was that his fault? Like, let's hope he's probably hoping it wasn't his fault. And it wasn't at all. But he didn't even get past turn one. And then same with Ocon. Ocon was out, but he started at the back when his teammate was way up front. I don't know why he was P20. I don't know what happened with his qualifying, but I mean, 2 gone. And then you have Stroll and Albon that also kind of collide somewhere around there, and then Stroll's out.
Mm-hmm.
And Albon had damage. So yeah, poor Williams.
It was Albon's mirror, right?
Yeah, it was Albon's mirror later in the race.
That almost need to call this mirror gate.
They're already saying Valtteri gate or Bottas gate because Valtteri's the one that ran over it, and then Zhou ended up getting points, and so it was like Bottas gate. Like, oh god, yeah, I thought Bottas would be the one getting points for.
Oh, if it weren't for Lando being such a heck of a driver and the pace, man, he came back so fast.
He really did. Oh my gosh. But yeah, the penalties were, I don't know, who's in charge now? Like, it just, everything, a lot of them seemed very harsh. And, I mean, we're all armchair quarterbacks or armchair drivers.
There's a lot of scrutiny over that race director from this weekend. And I thought it was interesting that the big penalty we're going to talk about, that the commentators came out and said all 4 of the stewards agreed on the penalty.
Yeah.
Like that was pretty harsh. And it's like, did all 4, because it's a new director, right? Because he just got rid of the old director.
Yeah.
And,
yeah. I know.
What a
even the principals, like Toto said, he has to go and really look at it, but it seemed harsh. The Lando penalty seemed harsh. Team principal for McLaren, Andreas, said he was kind of all over. I was almost like typing it to you when I was listening to it. They did look and they said Lando did not let up. So yes, it should be a penalty, but they need to, he said, I would think that they would go to a dusty book and, like on the shelf and pull that off and open it up and look and see, like, where does this fall? Because the severity of the stop and go 10-second penalty compared to, there wasn't anybody out there. There wasn't a whole lot of other cars around him. The lights, I don't know if the lights always show up on their steering wheel,
right.
But during one of the replays during the actual race, shortly after it happened, you were watching the boards on the track and I was watching Lando's steering wheel, and it never showed yellow on his steering wheel. And for us, for F1 TV, it was showing yellow flag, green flag, yellow flag, green flag, yellow. And I was like, what the hell is going on? Like a couple of races ago, they had issues with timing and different things. I was like, are they messing around?
And they were having problems because for a while, there was a couple of people that weren't reporting tires. They even mentioned when, I forget who was it, Lewis or when Checo was dropping back. They're like, that's not a timing issue. That's not a transponder issue. He really is dropping back because they were having some issues. And then, like you said, when they show that one replay, they slow it down as Lando goes past it. There's one of the digital boards that's yellow. No other boards are yellow. The one past it lights up green immediately after it. So you see yellow, green, and then everything else is dark.
Yeah.
That's at the time, like you said, everything was flashing for us, yellow, green. And like, I mean, again, I don't know the rules. I'm not a driver. I can see how that was very confusing in that space. Yeah,
Well, and where it was. So there are people saying that there were double yellow flags being waved, but also they were on that main street heading to turn 1. And so he wouldn't necessarily, I mean, they're going like 200 miles an hour, right? And I know they have quick reflexes and they're trained to, see all of these things, but he may have been looking down
to the
towards
right and missed,
toward
yeah.
turn 1. And, I don't know if his engineer said anything to him. It wasn't on his steering wheel. I have no idea.
Yeah, if that was all glitching at that time and the flashing on and off, like you said, if he's turning and looking this way and it's just this one, it was just as the left tire and the nose came up to the panel that it flashed yellow.
Yeah.
He may have, like you said, already been looking to the right, missed that one. I mean, I'm sure they've got great peripheries, but and again, the next one further down a slot line was green.
Yeah.
So it's crazy, and all the other ones were off. I mean, they were black. They were turning. They were completely off. I don't know.
But it seemed, well, somebody I read today said they looked at the timing and different things, and they said Ferrari did not let up either. So I don't know if that's true or not true, but both Lando and Andreas said, yeah, he didn't let up. And so we know there needs to be a penalty. I think the main thing was the penalty too harsh?
One, was it too harsh? And then from what Max just said about George, and all the stuff about like, stop tattling and whatnot, he spent a large portion of the race going, Lando did this. What about Lando? What's going on with Lando? Why aren't we doing something about Lando? Even after the safety car.
So you need to report Lando.
And he's like, well, he gained on me.
Yeah.
And there's been talk, and he's even said that, if he was in the McLaren because it's a faster car, he would have done better. So part of me is thinking he knows he's in a faster car. Lando's going to gain on him. He's going to lose this race. Then it's conspiracy, I know, but like, is he sitting here contemplating, well, this is a way to get Lando back? Because if you get Lando back, then he's get a penalty and he has to be pushed back.
Yeah.
Because Lando was gaining on him. I mean, he was not quite gaining, but he was keeping good pace. And he even said he was keeping 1.6, 1.7 seconds behind him. And then he gained, but then not long after that, he had a slip and he lost it again.
Yeah.
And then when the safety car comes out, it doesn't matter at that point because then they're
everybody's
back up.
Close. Yeah.
But then even after the safety car, he's asking, what about Lando? What about Lando? It's like, it doesn't matter at this point. But then they took so long to assess the penalty. If they assessed the penalty 5 laps sooner, the way that Lando was gaining on everyone, because he got all the way to the end, it was a stop and go penalty. He came out last place, basically, piece 17, I think. And he gained, and
it was because there were already 5 cars out, I think, at that point.
Yeah. So in the end, but then he got all the way back up to what, P9, P10?
He was on a mission.
Yeah, and he got all the way up there, gaining so fast. Could you imagine if he had 5 more laps?
Oh, I know.
5 more laps. He definitely would have been in the top 5.
A mission to get that back. And Lando, like he takes that all on himself. He knows he messed up not lifting his foot. I don't know that he has said what he saw or didn't see.
No.
I haven't seen that, and I highly doubt that we will. But he takes it all himself. So I think getting the fastest lap, getting back into the points meant a lot to him because they could have won the Constructor.
Yeah, yesterday. They could have.
They totally could have won the Constructor. I think it's just a shame that Max did seem to focus a lot on that. Tell them about Lando. How did he gain? He did not let up. And then asking, that's a shame. Like, you're winning, dude. Like, you won the World Driver Championship. Why?
And then over and over, he couldn't let it go. And especially right after being so upset about George calling him out and forcing the issue on his. It's like, you're doing the same thing. You're granted, it's not being two-faced. You're being blatant on everything, but
to him, that's probably okay.
Yeah, it is. Well, except at the same time, here's the two-face. I'm going to go and be your best friend and tell you you're an awesome dude, blah, blah, blah. I love you, man, but I'm going to screw you in your race.
Well, and that's not the first race that we can point to this season where he, if I was Lando, and Lando, I think, has said, it's not like we're the best of friends, but, yeah, they do stuff.
And granted, I know Lando messed up, but Max has messed up on a lot of occasions and gotten away with it. So.
Yeah. I just, it was so harsh. And then when we were watching it live, I was like, is this because of Max saying all of that? Like, would they have noticed it? That's one question. But and this is my conspiracy, did the stewards or F1 or the FIA say, hey, we've got an opportunity here to make the last race even more exciting, because now that's a huge point swing, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And now it brings the constructor neck and neck, and it's going to be on the last race.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people talking about that too. Did Netflix just pay for greater drama?
We've had so much drama this year. Like, I did a post today which we'll talk about this in a second, but Esteban, and I'm like, it's just giving until the end. We talked, what was it, last episode or a couple episodes ago, about all the different stories. Well, we've got more. Like, from that race, we have conspiracy theories. We've got all kinds of stuff going on. And after the race and today, even more stuff. Like, this season has been insane.
It's been
like
insane.
Absolutely crazy. But one thing that was exciting, and I kept saying all weekend, I thought it would be Valtteri, but Stake got points. They are no longer a giant zero at the bottom.
And I'm so excited for Joe, because I mean,
love Joe.
it doesn't look like he's got anything for next year. I haven't heard him being a reserve driver or anything. To leave this, at least temporarily, because there's always a chance of coming back in a year or two, but to leave and at least have points. It would have been horrible to leave with no points.
And his family was there. His parents were there. I think that was major. I don't know if you saw the video, but his garage ran out to the pit wall. They were so excited. He was so excited. We missed out on the memo for voting him driver of the day, but we saw that. And I was like, oh my God, yes, Joe, that's awesome. And, I mean, I was just so happy for him. I like Joe, and we've talked about this, I think even the beginning of this year, probably talking about the seats. I think Joe is a good driver. Clearly we're 23 out of 24 races in this year, and this is their first points. He drives a tractor.
Yeah.
They can't go anywhere. And Valtteri is actually a really great driver.
Yeah,
he's up there on quite a few different stats, and he can't even get points in this car. So I just feel very badly that he does not have a seat.
No, and they finally got their pit stops working.
Yeah.
Better than Mercedes.
Oh, poor George on that. What was that?
Seven or 9 second?
I thought it was 10 seconds.
Yeah, it was pretty up there.
Oh.
Get the wheel off.
Oh, that was terrible. I don't even know what happened there, but I was just super happy for Joe. I think that's great. And, second to the last race of the season, at least you got some points for the team. And you could leave with your head held high, which is great. Alpine, on the other hand, was the other team that at the beginning of the year, I thought for sure.
The overweight car.
Oh, they were terrible, and everything was always going wrong. And somehow Pierre finishes P5. What?
Yeah, where did that come from? Who's doing well in the qualifying? And
it's nuts. P5. Esteban has not been doing as well, but a lot of drama last night after the race today about Esteban. I think a lot of people online are mad at Alpine.
Yeah, very much so. Some of those comments.
They're mad. But, and again, we don't know what's happening behind the scenes because, maybe as a team and as a driver, they've fallen out. He could be in a position to mess up the constructor for them because they are competing with Haas. Esteban is going to Haas next year.
Yeah.
And so maybe there's concern there. But I think Esteban wanted to go. I do. I think he wanted to step away because if he steps away, he can do the postseason testing with Haas right after the race next weekend. And I think he's probably at a point where, Lewis is probably the same. I don't feel like I'm getting it from Carlos, where it's like short timer,
Yeah.
syndrome. Like you're not going to be there next year. You're leaving your job, so you don't care.
I'm
Just
out.
putting in the
Peace.
yeah. I don't get that vibe from Carlos necessarily, but I could see it being like, okay, I'm done. Like they're probably not sitting in on any of the meetings. They're
The
not
only
getting
thing-
the good stuff.
The only thing I could think of Carlos is my guess is if they win the constructor, there's some kind of extra bonus and he's in it for that. Because if Ferrari were to win the constructor,
Yeah, that
I would
could be.
imagine there's some kind of bonus for
There
everyone.
should be, yeah.
And by pushing it hard there's a chance of the constructor
Yeah.
win, and they're so close. If they weren't so close, we may see a little more short timers out of Carlos.
Yeah, that's a very good call, because there's got to be something.
It's got to be something motivating in there, because
Yeah.
otherwise I think because it's not been the best for him over there either.
I mean, probably a little better than the others,
Yeah.
but yeah, it just was really crazy. I listened to part of Esteban's after the race, his going to the pin, and he didn't say anything that was like, I'm leaving. He did say, thank you to the team and for pushing and da-da-da. And then F1 TV spoke with Ollie Oakes, who's the team principal, and he kind of said, oh, I heard Esteban, he said something in the pin, but I was on the pit wall and just got off, the pit wall. So I have to go figure it out. But we intended for him to race next weekend. So he seemed super confused. So that does lead me to think that Esteban was the one that wanted to be.
And it makes sense. If he wants to go ahead and start testing for us, and we'll see later, they are neck and neck, and there was a swap after this one. So
okay.
So there's some stuff there. But yeah, it's interesting that they just have that one little Twitter post or one little social media post, and F1 put more out about Esteban, and other people have done more for him. And the comments, like some of them were like, one was like, I'm not even an Esteban fan, but this is horrible. And it's like they did more for Danny, and Esteban was them for 5 years.
Yeah, he's competed every race for them since 2021 for sure. I think he was with them before as something else.
Yeah.
And he has their only win since they changed to Alpine. He has 3 podiums, one that happened a couple races ago. And so I mean, it's not like he hasn't done anything. He has their only win. Like, hello. So I get it. That's why I do think it's Ocon's decision, and that's fine. Like every driver that's going to another team, like Lewis, I think would like to do postseason testing for Ferrari, but Toto has said no. Like, we have a contract, we have celebrations already set up. I mean, because Lewis has been with Mercedes forever. If they want to send him out properly, whether that's on the track this week or back at home. But he was like, Now Fred said to Carlos and Williams, after the race, sure, he can do it. So Fred was a little bit, more congenial about it. I don't know about Alpine, but I think it was Esteban. Like, what's the point?
Yeah.
I'm done. And he's not keeping up. But it does give Jack Doohan, who is their driver set for next year and has been the reserve driver, he will start. Here's my other conspiracy theory with that, is there's been a lot of talk that Alpine is actually interested in Franco. And so to me, I'm thinking, I mean, Jack's all excited. He's super excited about being able to do his first, his Grand Prix debut. But I was like, is this an opportunity for them to see how he does in a race and back out? And maybe take Franco instead? I don't know.
Interesting.
I mean, Franco, you have a little bit more. He's had a couple issues the last couple weeks. This one,
he's a good driver.
This weekend, not his fault. Jack's been with them for a long time. That would suck if you had a contract and then boom, they pull the rug out. So if I were Jack, I'd be a little like excited, but also cautious. Absolutely. So what else? Mercedes, George, he's been on it, and they knew that this track would be good for them.
Yeah.
They knew that would be really good. And clearly he's covering all his bases, taking things to the stewards.
I did like, and I know we'll get to the helmets and stuff, but I do love the call out with their white suits that they wore, and Lewis trolling him that he looks like he was a Williams driver again.
Yeah, that was so cute. He just laughed. At least George found that funny. But yeah, he was doing really pretty well. I mean, he lost ground at the beginning of the race, but that pit stop, he was the first one in, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And nobody else went in. I was like, okay.
For many laps.
Yeah, many laps. But that whatever it was, 8, 9, 10-second pit stop. Just
and it was just heartbreaking to see the guy just struggling to get the tire off. Like, what the heck?
I would be peeing my pants, and then I'd go cry in the bathroom because you just know, like, you just messed it up. No matter how good he goes, back on the track. That was sad. And then Lewis, like, he wanted to quit.
Yeah, he was selling the car. It was slow in the straights. He just didn't have the pace and just having all these problems. And then he's just like, I'm going to retire the car. They're like, no.
Yeah. Well, that was when he got the penalty for speeding in the pit lane.
Yeah.
And I think, was that his second penalty that race? I don't know why I feel like he got, but yeah. So when they told him that, and I think he maybe wasn't necessarily speeding, but he didn't hit the button.
Yeah.
And that was when they kept going through, the safety car kept going through the pit lane.
Well, they said he was speeding because one of the other drivers were like, well, that Lewis just brake checked him. And he's like, no, what happened was he was speeding, and to stop him from speeding, he slammed on those brakes real quick.
Oh.
And so it looked like he brake checked the back.
Yeah.
And so then they investigated and found that he was speeding. Like you said, then they found they didn't his button. So he caught himself and he put on his brakes real quick. So the driver behind him was like, you brake checked me. It's like, no, he literally caught himself speeding and was trying to stop real quick before he got caught. But he got caught.
Yeah. And I feel like the last few races, even before Vegas, I think he was pretty good, but I think he's been over it.
Yeah.
I think Lewis has been over it. And again, I don't think that he's part of the conversations before. I don't think he's getting information during or after, because they're keeping that, he's leaving, he's going to another team. And boy, it just got really dark in here. So
and they're
sorry about that.
They're strategizing toward next year,
right?
And all that. So
exactly. And I think he feels that George is getting, the better car. I had also read that there is definitely clauses in his contract that if he beats George in different categories or whatever, he gets bonuses. Well, that's not happening because, he doesn't feel like he's getting the car. So when I think he got that penalty, he was just like, I'm done. Like, why am I continuing?
It's the straw that broke the back, right? I'm like, that's it, whatever.
Yeah. And they told him no. And he said, yeah, man, I'm shutting off the engine when I come in. And I'm assuming it was Bono. I just saw the thing, and they said only if you want a 5-second penalty for the next race. And so he kept on. So
well, and I was surprised he just didn't stop, and because Lance did the same thing. He was going to retire the car, because he was so far back and having all those problems. They're like, you have a penalty. He's like, serve the penalty, go loop around, and then he retired the car. Because you don't want that penalty because he had like a 10-second.
He had 10 seconds. Yeah, he had 10-second penalty, which was crazy. But I just hope, I guess my thing with Lewis, I get his frustration, but at the same time, I kind of feel like this is the end of your career with Mercedes. You have a very storied career with them. People associate you with them. Like, let's not end it on a super sour.
Yeah, let's end it on a high. I mean, everyone was thinking, even Toto was like, get your another championship with Mercedes before you leave.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
just not been good. And then there's poor Williams. Like, oy.
I felt so bad because it wasn't his fault, and and then
freak out.
Yeah, and I was telling my partner, it's like, it's too bad that I thought maybe I was telling you when we were watching it. I know I talked to him later about it. It's like, it's too bad when some of those wrecks happen that some of the penalty can't be, oh, Hulkenberg caused it, Haas has billed the cost, right? Because these things that they're hurting for money and they didn't cause the wreck.
Right.
And it's like, like an insurance. Well, you caused the wreck. You should pay for the repair.
Yeah.
It should come out of your budget. Because then the drivers might be a little more cautious too. If it's like, it's not my team's budget that has to pay for it. Because Hulk was fine and he took 2 cars out.
Yep. And on the first turn, he took 2 cars out.
And they had repairs.
We know, what was it, after Las Vegas? Williams tops the Constructor with $10 million in damages. 10 million. And that doesn't include what happened yesterday
No.
with Franco's car, who was already driving a
Spare
chassis
parts.
yeah, he was driving a chassis from earlier in the year. We talked about this last week, like the bin of, parts, what can they use? And now we've got that. And then Alex had issues too with his issue with Stroll. And we haven't even discussed this yet at all. And this set up the whole thing with Lando, it was Alex's mirror that flew off his car. Nobody was around him, so it must have got loose during one of his kerfuffles. And it just flew off his car and sat in the middle of the straight.
For 4 laps.
Yeah, for 4 laps.
4 laps.
Until Valtteri hit it. And it shattered. And I said to you at the time, I'm like, that's a lot of little pieces. And then who was it first that got it?
I think it was Charles, wasn't it?
No. Carlos got it, but it was
Carlos.
after somebody else had run over it. Was it
Lewis?
Lewis?
I think it was Lewis.
I think it was Lewis.
It's Lewis and yeah, Carlos. And oh my gosh, the damage it did to them. Their cars were scraping. And even I think, was it K-Mag or Hulk? One of the Haas's, it punctured their tire, but it stayed on all the way through to the pits.
That was
close
cool.
enough. It was Hulk.
Yeah.
Like the damage it did to the tires, the cars. I mean, I'm worried about both the Mercedes and the Ferrari car because they were sparking. In fact, they were still sparking and flaming in the pit row. It was crazy.
Yeah, for sure the Ferrari. And Carlos said afterwards they had damage after that. There was, I mean,
that
how could you
Ford's
not?
gotta have it. Yeah.
So he couldn't get past Pierre for that, even though I was yelling at the TV, get past Pierre, he's freaking driving an Alpine.
You were.
Like, come on. But yeah, that makes sense that he didn't. But I mean, so James Vowles said, yeah, we had more damage on both cars. We are hurting for parts and it's going to be a rough couple of days to get the cars ready for, I mean, they just have to, Alex said, we're going to fight for points in Abu Dhabi. I think they just have to figure out how to get 2 cars on the track and let's just finish the season.
Hey guys, we need to do a bake sale for Williams and raise some money.
Something. It's just so sad. But I mean, Haas, on the other hand, I mean, Hülkenberg had his issues and all of that good stuff, but K-Mag was really like this weekend, he was kind of like, I love it because he doesn't have a seat for next year. And he's another one that's like, I'm just going to battle hard till I go.
He just has no F's to give.
I think so.
He's just like, I'm just going to go have fun, go out on my own little high that's my high and just enjoy it.
Yeah. I think he's been like, I mean, I think that's him as a driver. Like he will defend. We know what, I mean, he got so many penalty points.
35 seconds in that one race.
Yeah, I think he's just a true racer. Like he's just going to do what he does. So I was happy for him. At least there was that. Checo actually did good in the race.
He was quiet. It was just, we didn't even talk about him, right?
No.
You didn't really even know he was out there. And just like, oh, look, he was in the top 10.
But he did get in the top 10, right?
Yeah,
okay,
he got in the top 10. It was just like I was saying, he was just like quietly out there minding his own business. And oh, look, Checo got in the top 10.
Yeah.
And he qualified in the top 10. So he was just there. He was just there.
But it's better than the day before when he qualified. Well, he was out in SQ1.
Yeah.
And then he did a pit lane start, but didn't actually start when the light went green and Colapinto went around him. And I mean, we figured they were just testing things. They were
they even said at one point during the sprint, they just changed his front wing, right? Because they're doing testing. So we'll see what's going to go on with them.
Yeah.
And then there'll be 2 seats open because there's 1 right now.
And they still don't know. And James said something about that too, is so Alpine and Red Bull, he said, I think those teams need to figure out what seats they have available and then come talk to Franco. Like, because there's a lot of conversation going on and clearly real conversation because James is talking about it. But just kind of addressing when he's asked, like, those teams need to figure out what they have. Yeah. And then we'll go from there. Yeah. Like, it's crazy.
I like that James seems very protective of the drivers, so that's cool.
Yeah. No, I think I like him as a leader.
Like Papa Bear.
Just do. Yeah. I like him as a leader. And then Ferrari, like Charles, I mean, he got up into second, started 5th. I'll take it. And Carlos, we've already kind of talked
I think
about him,
Carlos
but
would have done so much better had it not been the damage on the car.
I would hope that he would have been able to get past Pierre at least. And
I think
gone
he could have.
forth. But the results of that penalty for Lando, now we do have a battle for the constructors. Even as a Ferrari fan.
Alonso got points.
Oh, that's right. Alonso did get. I forgot about Alonso. Oh my gosh, it's like
after he complained because he was like ripping his engine up because it was like the cars and power, not the straights, and he and Lance were complaining about the steering.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's like, wait, you're coming back. You're passing people again. Yay.
Yay. V-carb, Yuki started off like so good.
And then something happened. He just fell back like 4 places.
Oh my gosh, it was so sad to watch. It was like, where is he going?
Someone said he ran off. I think I heard he ran off somewhere, and then that lost him a couple of spaces.
I could see that. But he and Liam were like,
ugh, Liam.
I know.
Should we look at the pretty stuff?
Let's look at the pretty stuff. That was pretty much the race. I don't know. Next week, this coming week, I guess I should say, we've got a lot going on. Okay.
So Pierre had 2 special helmets.
And you can go to our YouTube to see this.
Yeah. He wore one on Friday. So we didn't see much of it.
Friday or Saturday?
They said Friday. They said Friday and Saturday. And then he wore it through the race. But I don't know. I didn't see it much. I'm assuming it was Friday, just during practice and qualifying, because we didn't really see it much. We saw the other one most of the weekend.
Maybe he blended, because all I remember is the really colorful one.
Yeah.
But I love this because it's
Qatar creates.
Yeah, Qatar creates. So they put out a call to designers and artists and said, hey, design a helmet and the winner will be made or designed. Yeah. I think it's really pretty. It's very deserty, right? It's the tan colors and with browns and all kinds of.
And I like that one. And then like I said, the colorful one is
loved this. Yeah, this was great from the car view.
Mm-hmm.
There's lots of little blocks of colors, and I would like to know kind of what all of those little designs are. I mean, there's people, silhouettes of people, but
I know in the Instagram post they talked about there's one of them had some Moroccan blend into it, and some of it has to do with the Qatar. So so go to Instagram and read up on it. There's a video that has all this in it. It's really cool.
Yeah,
I love history and the meanings behind. And I like that when the drivers have local artists do this and they feature them, because it's bringing art into the sport.
Yeah,
which I think
absolutely.
Is really cool.
And Valtteri has done that too. I love it. I loved this one. It would be nice if he wore that again, but.
And then Max said it's because of his championship, very gold.
Yes, white and gold. And his lion on the top, that's, obviously Max. He's got his 4 stars now. So 4 world champions on his shoes, on his helmet, 21, 22, 23, 24.
And they presented this to him, I saw at Las Vegas. Oh. Because there's pictures of helmet Marco giving it to him at the Vegas Grand Prix. And most of the really good pictures of are all in black and white. So I'm like, well, those aren't good to grab because you can't see the sparkles. Yeah, it's nice. So it's a special helmet. I have a feeling it's going to be that's going to be his new helmet. Maybe. I like it. And then George in the white, the whole Mercedes went with their white suits, but then he got a white helmet too. Yeah, which I like. I like the 63 in the outline of like that Patronus blue color. Kind of a teal color. And it's very, very clean looking. Yeah, and I do like their jumpsuits. Yeah, I love the little package, like this little toy punch-out package. I like how they do that a lot. But that's cute. But then this is so cute. You look like you're a Williams driver again. He did though. That is like such a Williams suit. But I do like it. It looks good. Oh, I forgot to tell you too. I think Lewis is taking. Remember how we talked? Oh, we might not talk about it on the podcast, but Tommy Hilfiger is not going to be aligned to Mercedes anymore. And supposedly Lewis is taking Tommy Hilfiger, Puma, but Ferrari already does some stuff with Puma and a third sponsor with him. Oh, wow. So him and Charles might be really decked out. But Ferrari really likes their drivers just to wear the Ferrari stuff, if you notice. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see Lewis, how he's going to be dressing now. I'm sure he's always so stylish. Yeah, he had to have
He had to have written that into his contract because he's about the fashion.
Oh, yeah.
So,
And he's phenomenal in the fashion,
Yeah.
going to the Met, doing all the other stuff that he
and
does.
he's a honorable host or whatever
Yeah.
for the Met Gala next year.
Esteban.
It's important to look ahead. So the Merci Esteban, that was with the French flag around him. That was Alpine's
All that
post.
Alpine has done so far.
Yeah.
I'm gonna add so far, just so far.
Yeah.
Maybe something else will come, but
I mean, also though, if it was Esteban's decision to leave, I mean,
They haven't-
I'm gonna spend time.
and to your point, if they
asking
weren't
that.
expecting it, they
Right.
don't have, maybe they had something planned for next week and whatnot.
Yeah.
And now they're scrambling and
Yeah.
they just wanted to get something out. So
Or they were expecting him to drive and then
do something after.
now
yeah.
they're not going to do anything.
Yeah. Who knows?
So who knows?
But
They're French.
I do
they
like
get
his,
testy.
I do like his quote. That's one of the things he said at the end of the race yesterday
Yeah.
was it's important to look ahead. So
Yeah, I can see a lot of those drivers that are switching teams, just like we said earlier, being done. They're
Oh.
just done.
and then another big thing that happened over the
Abby.
weekend was Abby, which
Oh
is
my
cool for Alpine
gosh.
since Alpine does sponsor her car.
Yes,
Yeah, the
Big
champion.
Abby pulling. I mean, she had an amazing season.
She had won third place, and I think two or three second places this year.
and the rest were
They were all
first.
She's
yeah,
been amazing.
yeah. Dorian Pond did really well. She won the first race, and so that was her closest competitor. And they didn't even get to do their second race because I think there must have been a crash or something in F2 because it was taking too long to do the barrier. And then they had F1. But it just is such a great season for her. So well deserved. I think she really wanted to win it last year. But I hope that, I know she mentioned this comes with a lot of money. She's said that she has had an issue raising money in the past. And so to have that off of her shoulders where she could just go to the next, I can't remember where they go. Is it F4? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Anyways, she's just so happy to be able to do that. So really great.
Yes.
And next year they'll end their season in Vegas. So what a great place to celebrate.
Yeah, that would be so awesome.
Yay, Abby.
So as we talked about, that was Max won. You had Charles second, Oscar got third, and then George, I mean,
He got back up
he
there.
got back up there. But you look at Lando, he made it to 10th.
Yes.
Was 9th. Joe all the way up to 8th.
Yes.
See, Fernando 7th.
Fernando was 7th, Carlos 6th, and Pierre 5th.
So just, I mean, look at all the all the different constructors who got in the top 10.
That's true. That's really true.
I mean, wait a minute. We have, is that all 10?
Well, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
No, it's 9.
6, 7, 8, 9. No, 8. Because
8.
there's 2 McLarens. But 8 out of 10 teams.
Yeah.
Williams definitely wasn't going to happen. And who else are we missing?
No, it's 9 teams.
Is it?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Because there's 2 McLarens out of the 10 teams.
And there's 2 Ferraris.
They're both, oh yeah, 2 Ferraris.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're right, 8.
Yeah.
Who did else? And then I'm like,
Was there another team?
yeah, there is another team. Who are we missing? Williams didn't make it
is out.
in.
Oh, V-Carb.
V-Carb. Yeah, V-Carb didn't make it
Yeah.
in. Well, they're basically Red Bull.
Uh-uh.
So,
That's true.
but yeah, so that's pretty amazing. 8 teams made it in the top 10.
That's really cool. Again, great season.
Great season. This is one of my favorite ones for the
Oh,
year. Joe,
Joe.
look at all the green and it's kicks over. He got points and driver of the day.
Amazing. Good job, Joe. I like to see him go out on a high.
Yeah, me too.
I think he's one of my favorites. Quietly one of my favorites. He kind of slides under the radar a lot like Lance Stroll. Like they are just chill, it seems like. So
That is just so
like him.
awesome. All right, so
here we go.
look at that. So because of what happened to Lando, they only got 17 points where Mercedes or Ferrari got 26. So now they are, what is that, 21 points apart.
Yeah.
And there's 44 points that remain. And
It's
then-
going to be tough though. 44 points. They need half. So one team needs somebody to just be completely out of it. Because
It's
if
gonna
you
be
have
crazy.
a McLaren like a 1-2 and a Ferrari like a 3-4, it's over.
Yeah.
Like it's over. So Yeah, what happens?
Like whoever,
It's
like,
gonna be stressful.
oh, it's gonna be so crazy. Oh my gosh, the
It's
two of
gonna
us,
be
I feel sorry for our neighbors this weekend.
Oh, I know, we might need to tell them ahead of time.
Luckily, it's the middle of the day, though. Sunday is a quiet day.
Sunday is a quiet day.
Shoot.
Shoot.
It's gonna be a
We're gonna do our
day.
best.
We're gonna
That's
do
all
our
I can
best.
say.
And then look at the race for second place.
So,
8
yes.
points. Because
So-
Norris again did not get. You get 1 point this weekend
2 points.
or 2.
Well, but you take whatever the
That's
net
right.
is.
That's
but,
right. 2 points because of
But yeah, everybody's talking about the constructor, and I was like, but the second place, Leclerc wants that so bad,
Mhm.
and yeah, there's 8-point difference. So Leclerc is going to be doing everything to get in front of Lando.
Interesting thing to look here. Remember back to Perez's contract. No
Yeah.
more than 150 points and no more than I think 5 spaces.
5
He's
spaces.
never going to get. He's
Oh, no.
7. He's 7. There's no way he can get up. He's going to be 7 points, 7 places back,
Yeah.
and he's 300, almost 300 points back. He's,
Yeah.
200 and something points back. It's going to be an interesting meeting after.
If there really is a meeting.
Yeah, if there really
we
is a
still
meeting.
don't even know if there is a meeting. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
Interesting. Look at.
I mean, don't fire him before Christmas though.
Right.
Come on, like let's not. But they're Red Bull, so they might.
We got 7. We got 7 different teams in the top 10
That's awesome. I love
for
it.
drivers.
It's been a good season. Okay, I can't
Next
say
week.
it.
No.
We're going to Abu Dhabi.
We're going to Abu Dhabi.
Yay! Yay!
It's gonna be a fun track. It's gonna be a fun race. Good one to end on, I think.
I think so. I mean, 58 laps, 2 DRS zones. We are definitely, it's going to be drama.
Yeah.
There's a lot happening in
Yeah.
this race. And I honestly don't know who this track is going to suit. Like, I haven't looked to see like who usually does well here,
Yeah.
who is, I mean, we didn't expect Ferrari to be good at this track. So, but I haven't, figured out if it's supposed to suit one or another.
It's been a fun year, and let's just hope this ends without controversy, but
We'll see.
we'll see.
Could you imagine if Qatar was the last race of the season?
Oh my God.
That would have been controversy. Oh my
Oh my
gosh.
gosh.
We've already said a couple controversies conspiracies that we've come up with.
Well, we went from last year that was just like max
Boring.
dominant, boring,
Yeah.
to this one. It's just been all over the place.
All
And
over. So many stories.
so what is it going to set up next year? Then after 2025, we go into all new specs. So
Yeah.
2025 is going to be an interesting year,
And a whole new team.
and
too.
all these new teams. And then we go into 2026, right, with new team and new specs. It's just F1 just keeps getting more fun.
Yeah. Thank God.
All right, well, that's it. Signing off, and we'll see you guys
Bye.
next week.
Bye.
Bye.
If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please subscribe and leave a rating and a review. To stay up to date with She Loves the Grid and get all the behind the scenes content, you can follow us on Instagram at She Loves the Grid and on Facebook at facebook.com/She Loves the Grid. Thank you for joining us for the ride this week.